I just sold my patent for $20 million. At the celebration, I watched my wife drop something into my champagne from a brown vial. She didn't know I saw. When she walked away, I gave my glass to her mother. "You deserve this more than anyone," I said. 30 seconds after the toast, she hit the floor. I'm not saying I'm the kind of guy who throws himself a retirement party at 42, like some kind of tech bro messiah who just discovered passive income. But here we are. My living room is packed with people who wouldn't have returned my calls 6 months ago. And now they're all suddenly my biggest fans because I just sold my water purification micromembrane patent for $20 million cash plus royalties that'll keep rolling in like I'm collecting rent on oxygen itself. The deal closed last Tuesday. By Wednesday, my phone had more congratulatory texts than a quarterback who just won the Super Bowl. And exactly 0 of these people helped me when I was eating ramen in my garage lab at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out why my prototype kept clogging like a gas station toilet. But whatever, I'm not bitter. I'm rich now. So, I'm allowed to be magnanimous and pretend I don't remember who called my project Marcus's expensive hobby or who suggested I get a real job when I was 3 years deep into development. Brittany, my wife, insisted we do this whole thing at the house with a caterer, a bartender who makes cocktails with names like The Innovator and Silicon Sip and enough artisanal cheese to bankrupt a small European nation. She said people expected me to cry, to give some emotional speech about the journey, about believing in myself when nobody else did. Honestly, I just expected cocktails and maybe some light jazz in the background while I nodded politely at people's fake enthusiasm. We got neither crying nor jazz, but we did get something way more interesting than either of those things. And that's why I'm currently standing in my kitchen holding a champagne flute and questioning every life decision that led me to marry someone who apparently moonlights as an amateur poisoner. It happens right before the big toast. Everyone's gathered in the living room and Brittany's doing her thing where she plays hostess like she's auditioning for a reality show about wealthy wives who lunch. She's got her hair done, nails done, wearing this dress that probably costs more than my first car, and she's working the room like a politician at a fundraiser. I'm over by the bar, and I reach for my glass, the one with the tiny chip on the rim that I've been using for years because it's comfortable and familiar, and I know for a fact I won't accidentally hand it to a guest because nobody wants to drink from chipped glass here except apparently me. It's like my security blanket except it holds alcohol and I'm a grown man. So, let's call it what it is, a habit. That's when I see it. Brittany leans in close to my glass, looks around like she's checking for security cameras at a bank she's about to rob and pulls out this little brown vial from her clutch. Not a perfume vial, not essential oils. This thing looks like it came from a Victorian apothecary or maybe from some sketchy website that also sells healing crystals and instructions on how to fake your own death. She squeezes a few drops into my champagne, swirls it with her finger, which gross, unsanitary, and also literally attempted murder, and then places the glass back on the bar like she just garnished it with a lemon twist instead of whatever the hell was in that dropper bottle. Now, I'm not a paranoid person by nature. I don't think the government is tracking me through my dental fillings. And I don't believe that birds are drones or whatever conspiracy theory is trending on Twitter this week. But when your wife of 8 years casually seasons your drink like she's adding hot sauce to tacos, that's not an act of love. That's not oops, I thought that was simple syrup. That's premeditated something. And that something rhymes with homicide and probably comes with a 25 to life sentence if you get caught. Rule number 1 in the handbook of how not to get murdered by someone you share a mortgage with is this. When they start accessorizing your beverages without your knowledge, it's time to pay attention. I don't say anything. This is critical. I don't gasp. I don't point. I don't yell, "What the hell was that, Brittany?" Like we're in some daytime soap opera. I just clock it. File it away in the part of my brain that usually remembers passwords and grudges. And I keep smiling. I grab a napkin. I pretend to wipe my mouth. I act like I'm the same oblivious Marcus who doesn't notice when his wife rearranges the living room furniture or when she buys another purse that costs more than some people's monthly rent. The toast is starting. Everyone's gathering. Brittany's mom, Lorraine, is front and center, of course, because Lorraine has never met a spotlight she didn't want to stand directly under while talking about how we finally made it. Like she was in the lab with me at 3 a.m. troubleshooting membrane polymers instead of at the spa getting her 4th facial of the month. Lorraine's holding her own champagne flute and she's doing that thing where she's already tearing up even though nothing emotional has happened yet. Like she's method acting for an audience that doesn't exist. She's wearing heels so high I'm surprised she doesn't have a nosebleed. And she's clutching her designer handbag like it contains the nuclear codes. People are saying things. Congrats on the exit, Marcus. You deserve this, man. Always knew you'd make it. Lies. All lies. But I smile and nod because that's what you do at parties when you're rich and people want to be near you now. Tyler, my 14-year-old son, is standing off to the side looking vaguely uncomfortable in the button-down shirt Brittany forced him into. And he's got his phone out, probably texting his friends about how lame adult parties are. Kids, not wrong. That's when I make my move. Casual, smooth, like I've been planning it my whole life. I walk over to Lorraine and I say loud enough for people nearby to hear, "Lorraine, you deserve this more than anyone." And honestly, in a cosmic, karmic, ironic sense, that statement is true. If anyone deserves to drink from the poisoned chalice of their own daughter's greed and desperation, it's the woman who raised said daughter to believe that other people's money is community property. I hand her my glass, the chipped one, the one with the mystery drops. She looks confused for half a second, probably wondering why I'm giving her my specific glass instead of just grabbing her a fresh one. But then her face does this thing where she decides it's a gesture of affection or respect, and she takes it. She actually thanks me. "Oh, Marcus, you're so sweet," she says, like I just gave her flowers instead of swapping out what is very likely a lethal dose of something that doesn't belong in champagne. We all raise our glasses. Someone, I think it's Brittany's cousin, Derek, starts a speech about innovation and the American dream and other buzzwords that sound like they came from a LinkedIn motivational post. Everyone's smiling. Brittany's smiling. I'm smiling. Lorraine's smiling. We all drink. Well, most of us drink. I take a tiny sip from Lorraine's glass, which tastes like normal champagne. Slightly too sweet, definitely overpriced, but not murderous. Lorraine, on the other hand, takes a big gulp from mine because Lorraine doesn't do anything subtly, including consume beverages or spend money she doesn't have. 30 seconds. That's how long it takes. She's mid-laugh at something dear Eric said, and then her face changes. It's not subtle. It's not like, "Oh, I feel a little dizzy." It's like someone unplugged her from the wall. Her eyes go wide, her hand goes to her throat, and she makes this sound, this awful choking gasp, and then her knees just give out. She hits my marble floor so hard I hear the impact over the music, and her champagne flute goes flying and shatters against the fireplace like we're in a movie where everything happens in dramatic slow motion. Except this is real time and it's happening in my living room in front of 40 people. Screaming. Immediate screaming. Someone yells, "Call 911." Someone else yells, "Is she choking?" Brittany rushes over doing this full-on performance of shock and horror that would win her an Oscar if the Academy had a category for Best Actress in a failed murder plot. She's on her knees next to her mom, crying, shaking her, yelling, "Mom, Mom." Like she didn't just try to kill someone else entirely about 90 seconds ago. Tyler's frozen by the couch. His phone still in his hand, his face pale. People are pulling out their phones. Someone's already calling 911. Dear Eric's trying to do CPR even though Lorraine's still breathing, just unconscious and twitching slightly, which is somehow worse than not moving at all. And me. I'm standing there still holding Lorraine's champagne flute, a safe one, watching this whole scene unfold like I'm a spectator at a sport I don't understand. I'm calm, too calm, probably. Someone might notice that I'm not panicking, but everyone's too focused on the woman convulsing on my floor to psychoanalyze my reaction time. Internally, I'm thinking one very clear thought. So, we're doing attempted murder before dessert. Cool. This is where we're at. This is the timeline we're in. My wife just tried to poison me at my own retirement party and her mom drank it instead. And now there are paramedics on the way and probably police and definitely a lot of questions that I'm going to have to answer while pretending I have no idea what just happened. The paramedics show up fast. We're in a good neighborhood, which means emergency response times are excellent because property values demand it. They load Lorraine onto a stretcher while Brittany rides with her in the ambulance. Still doing the devastated daughter routine. People are whispering, "Did she have a stroke? Was it the shrimp? I heard she has a heart condition." Nobody's saying poison champagne because nobody saw what I saw. And I'm not about to announce it in front of 40 witnesses while I'm still processing the fact that my wife is apparently trying to cash in on my death before I've even had time to update my will. I offer to drive to the hospital. I'm the concerned son-in-law. I'm the guy who just made $20 million and definitely has good insurance. Everyone nods approvingly. Tyler comes with me, quiet in the passenger seat, and I can feel him looking at me like he's trying to figure out what I'm thinking. Smart kid takes after me. I don't say anything during the drive. I'm building a case in my head. Evidence and timeline and motive. Because here's what I know for absolute certain. Yelling gets you drama. Crying gets you sympathy. But paperwork, documentation, evidence that gets you justice, that gets you consequences, that gets people prison sentences they can't cry their way out of. And right now, Sitting in my car, driving to the hospital where my mother-in-law is being treated for poisoning that was meant for me, I decide something simple and clear. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to confront. I'm going to smile and document and build a case so airtight that when this all comes out, and it will come out, nobody will be able to say I overreacted or misunderstood or imagined things. They'll just see facts, cold, hard, legally admissible facts, because I didn't survive 42 years and build a multi-million-dollar patent by being stupid or impulsive. I survived by being smarter than the people trying to take advantage of me. And Brittany just made the biggest mistake of her life. She thought I wouldn't notice. She thought I'd drink from that glass and collapse and everyone would call it a heart attack or a stroke or bad luck. She thought wrong. And now I'm going to make sure she knows exactly how wrong she was. One documented piece of evidence at a time. Riverside General Hospital smells exactly like every hospital I've ever been in. Which is to say, it smells like industrial strength bleach mixed with regret and the broken dreams of people who thought their insurance would actually cover things. The fluorescent lights are doing that flicker thing that makes everyone look either dead or about to be dead. And there's a TV in the corner playing the news on mute because apparently watching silent coverage of traffic accidents is supposed to be calming when you're waiting to find out if your mother-in-law is going to survive drinking the poison that was meant for you. The ER waiting room is packed with the usual cast of characters. A guy holding a bag of ice to his face. A kid with a clearly broken arm trying not to cry. A woman coughing like she's auditioning for a tuberculosis awareness campaign. And us, the well-dressed family of a poisoning victim, looking like we just came from a cocktail party because we literally just came from a cocktail party. Brittany is pacing back and forth, like she's training for a walkathon sponsored by guilt and bad decisions. She's got her phone out, texting people updates that I can see from where I'm sitting because she's not even trying to hide the screen. Mom collapsed at the party. Don't know what happened. Pray for us. She's building her narrative in real time, crafting the story of the devoted daughter whose mother mysteriously fell ill at a celebration. And she's doing it with the dedication of someone who knows they're going to need an alibi that holds up under scrutiny. Every few minutes, she dabs at her eyes with a tissue, even though I haven't seen actual tears yet. It's like watching someone perform grief as a one-woman show. And honestly, the acting is decent, but not great. She keeps repeating the same phrases. Oh my God, I just don't know what happened. She says it to the nurse at intake. She says it to the doctor who comes out to give us updates. She says it to the random lady in the waiting room who made the mistake of asking if everything's okay 5 times. I count. When someone repeats themselves that much, it's not shock. It's not processing trauma. It's rehearsal. It's making sure the story stays consistent because they know inconsistency is how you get caught. Tyler is sitting next to me, quiet, his phone in his hands, but the screen dark. He's not texting. He's not playing games. He's just sitting there watching his stepmom pace and perform and then watching me watch her. And I can see the wheels turning in his head. Kid's 14, but he's not stupid. He sees what I see. He just doesn't have the language for it yet. Or maybe he does, and he's just smart enough not to say it out loud in a hospital waiting room where anyone could be listening. I make a mental note, talk to Tyler later, make sure he knows what he saw. Make sure he knows it's okay to trust his instincts when something feels wrong. File that under important parenting moments that shouldn't have to happen because your spouse shouldn't be trying to murder you. A doctor comes out after about 40 minutes. She's young, maybe early 30s, wearing scrubs that have seen better days and an expression that says she's already done 12 hours of a 14-hour shift and would very much like to go home and drink wine in the bathtub. She looks at her clipboard, then at us. Family of Lorraine Hale. Brittany rushes over like she's been shot out of a cannon. Yes, that's my mother. Is she okay? What happened? The doctor does that thing doctors do where they choose their words carefully because they know anything they say might end up in a lawsuit. Your mother is stable. We've started treatment and she's responding. We're still running tests, but preliminary results suggest possible toxic opioid ingestion. She pauses, watching our faces. I keep my neutral. Interested, but not surprised. Concerned. Son-in-law mode activated. Brittany's face does this microscopic flicker just for a second where I see panic before she smooths it back into relief. Toxic what? She asks, and her voice has this edge to it that's trying to sound confused but lands somewhere closer to defensive. Alkaloid, the doctor repeats. It's a type of compound found in certain plants. Definitely not food poisoning, which was our first thought given the party setting. This was something more specific. We're running a full toxicology panel to identify exactly what we're dealing with, but the reaction time and symptoms are consistent with something like aconite or a similar neurotoxin. She looks at all of us. Did your mother consume anything unusual? Any herbal supplements, Tease, something from a non-commercial source? Brittany shakes her head vigorously. No, nothing. She just had champagne. That's it. She's talking too fast. People who are innocent don't talk that fast when answering simple questions. People who are innocent take a second to think, to consider, to make sure they're being accurate. People who are guilty already have their answer ready because they've been rehearsing it since the moment things went wrong. I step in, voice calm, measured, like I'm simply trying to be helpful. She only took one sip of the champagne. Doctor, maybe two. Super fast reaction, right? Like less than a minute. The doctor nods slowly. Yes, that's consistent with acute poisoning from a concentrated source. If it was ingested, it would have been in whatever she drank most recently. I let that sit there. I don't add anything. I just nod like I'm processing information. Brittany freezes for half a beat. Just half a second where her entire body goes rigid and her eyes lock onto me like she's trying to read my mind through my skull. Then she recovers. Champagne? You think it was the champagne? That's crazy. Everyone was drinking champagne. Nobody else got sick. Her voice has gone up half an octave. Defensive. Yeah, I say and I smile at her. Just a small smile. Friendly, supportive husband smile. Crazy. The doctor says Lorraine is being moved to a room and will be staying overnight for observation. They want to monitor her cardiac function and neurological responses. Make sure there's no lasting damage. Complete the full toxicology report. Standard procedure for poisoning cases, she says. And I don't miss the way she says poisoning cases like this is now officially a category of incident and not just a random medical emergency. Brittany does her dramatic relief performance, hand to chest, exhale, thank God, the whole production, and asks if she can see her mother. The doctor says yes, but only for a few minutes because Lorraine needs rest. Brittany rushes off down the hallway following a nurse and I'm left standing there with Tyler and the young doctor who looks at me with an expression I can't quite read. You're her son-in-law? She asks. I nod. And you were at the party? Another nod. Did you notice anything unusual? Anyone who might have had access to the drinks? It's a careful question. She's fishing. I can tell this doctor has seen enough weird stuff in the ER to know that accidents at family parties sometimes aren't accidents. Nothing I can think of, I say, but I'll definitely give it some thought. If I remember anything, who should I talk to? She hands me a card. Not her card. A card for hospital security and a number for the police non-emergency line just in case, she says. With this type of poisoning, we're required to file a report. Someone from the police department might want to ask some follow-up questions. I take the card. I thank her. I act like this is all routine and expected and not at all the beginning of a criminal investigation into my wife's attempt to widow herself before she hits 40. Tyler and I sit back down in the waiting room. He's staring at his shoes. I'm staring at the muted TV where a weatherman is pointing at a map of rain clouds. Finally, Tyler speaks quiet enough that only I can hear. Dad, that was weird, right? The thing she said about the champagne. I look at him. Really look at him. My kid, smart, observant, probably going to need therapy after this whole thing is over, but at least he's paying attention. Yeah, buddy. That was weird. He nods slowly. Are you okay? He asks. And the fact that he's asking me, the adult, the parent, the person who's supposed to have everything under control. If I'm okay tells me exactly how not okay this whole situation feels to him. I'm fine. I tell him, which is a lie, but also the only answer I can give right now. But I need you to do me a favor. I need you to remember everything you saw tonight. Everything. Don't talk about it with Brittany or Lorraine or anyone except me. Can you do that? He looks at me for a long moment and I see the exact second where he stops being a kid and starts being a witness. Yeah, he says. I can do that. Brittany comes back 20 minutes later. Her mascara is smudged now. Actually smudged, which means she's been doing some real crying, or at least some aggressive eye rubbing to make it look like she's been doing real crying. She's awake. Brittany says she's confused, but she's awake. She doesn't remember what happened. Convenient, I think. Out loud, I say. That's good that she's awake. I mean, the memory thing will probably come back. Brittany sits down next to me and here's the thing that's absolutely wild. She puts her hand on my knee like a comfort gesture, like we're a team, like she wasn't trying to kill me 4 hours ago. I'm so glad you're here, she says. And her voice is soft, tired, vulnerable, Oscar-worthy. Truly, I don't know what I'd do without you. And that's when it clicks into place for me. Really clicks in a way that's crystal clear and cold as ice. This woman sitting next to me, touching my knee, looking at me with those big concerned eyes. She's not relieved that her mother survived. She's assessing. She's watching me. She's trying to figure out if I'm dizzy, if I'm showing symptoms, if maybe I drank from that glass after all. And the poison just hasn't kicked in yet. She keeps glancing at my hands to see if they're shaking. She's studying my face for signs of distress. She's waiting for me to collapse because in her mind, in her plan, I was supposed to be the one on that stretcher. I was supposed to be the one in the hospital bed with the 4 and the heart monitor and the toxicology report. And now she's sitting here recalculating, trying to figure out what went wrong, trying to decide if she needs to try again or if this failed attempt means she needs to pivot to plan B. I squeeze her hand. Supportive husband. We'll get through this. I tell her together. She smiles at me, relieved, and in that smile, I see everything I need to know. She thinks she's safe. She thinks I don't know. She thinks she still has time to fix this, to try again, to find another way to turn my $20 million into her $20 million. What she doesn't know, what she can't know yet, is that the temperature in my chest has changed. It's gone from shock to surgical. From reactive to strategic, from I can't believe this is happening to I'm going to document every single move you make from now until the day they read your charges in court. We drive home an hour later. Tyler falls asleep in the back seat. Brittany's quiet in the passenger seat, staring out the window. I'm driving, hands steady on the wheel, mind racing through everything I need to do. First thing tomorrow, lawyer. Second thing, find out exactly what was in that vial. Third thing, figure out how deep this goes because people don't just randomly decide to poison their spouses. There's always a reason. There's always money. And that's when I start doing the math in my head. Brittany's boutique that's bleeding money. Lorraine's multiple mortgages. The designer lifestyle that requires 6 figures minimum just to maintain. And I realized something that should have been obvious from the start. My wife didn't try to kill me because she hates me. She tried to kill me because she needs me dead. Because dead husbands come with life insurance and marital assets and sympathy and social capital and no prenup enforcement. Dead husbands are profitable. Living husbands with $20 million and a valid prenuptial agreement. Not so much. This wasn't rage. This wasn't passion. This was accounting. This was a spreadsheet with my name in the liability column and her name in the beneficiary row. And now that I see it, I can't unsee it. Now that I know, I can't unknow it. Now that I understand exactly what I'm dealing with, I can plan accordingly. Because if there's one thing I'm good at, it's solving problems. And Brittany just became a problem that needs solving. We get home around midnight and the house still smells like the party. Leftover catering, expensive candles, and the faint chemical tang of whatever cleaning product the crew used to mop up my mother-in-law's collapsed site, which is a sentence I never thought I'd have to construct, but here we are. Brittany goes straight upstairs without saying good night, which is fine because I'm not exactly in the mood for pillow talk with someone who recently tried to poison me. Tyler mumbles something about being tired and heads to his room. And I'm left standing in my kitchen surrounded by the aftermath of what was supposed to be a celebration and turned into a crime scene that nobody except me seems to recognize as a crime scene. I go to my office, close the door, lock it. New habit as of tonight, and pull out a bottle of bourbon from the cabinet behind my desk. It's the good stuff, the kind I save for actual celebrations or exceptionally bad days. And I'm pretty sure my wife tried to murder me with botanical poison at my retirement party qualifies as an exceptionally bad day. But here's the thing. I don't just open it and pour. I check the seal first. I examine the cap. I hold it up to the light and look for anything that seems off, any sign that someone's tampered with it because apparently this is my life now. I'm a 42-year-old man who just made $20 million and I'm inspecting my own bourbon like I'm a detective in a noir film. Except noir film is my actual life and the fatal is sleeping upstairs in my bed. I open it in front of my desk camera. Yeah, I have a camera in my office. Doesn't everyone? Because if I'm going to drink something, I want video evidence that I opened a sealed bottle myself and nobody spiked it. This is the level of paranoia I've achieved in approximately 6 hours. I pour 2 fingers, sit down at my desk, and start doing what I should have done months ago, actually looking at the finances. Not just my finances, which are straightforward and documented and very much mine, but the whole financial ecosystem of everyone in my immediate orbit who might have a reason to want me dead before I update my estate planning. Let me break this down because once I start pulling threads, the whole thing unravels like a cheap sweater from a store that's definitely going out of business, which coincidentally is a pretty good metaphor for Brittany's boutique. My deal just closed. $20 million in escrow. The money hit my account last Tuesday. I haven't distributed anything yet because I'm not an idiot and I wanted to talk to financial advisors and tax attorneys and people who know what they're doing before I start moving that kind of money around. The patent is mine legally solely completely. I built it. I developed it. I filed it. My name is on every document. Brittany is not on the LLC. She's not on the patent. She's not on anything related to my actual business because we have a prenup signed 8 years ago before we got married because I was already working on the prototype and my lawyer said, protect your intellectual property. And I said, okay, because I'm capable of listening to professional advice. The prenup is pretty clear. What's mine is mine. What's hers is hers. And in the event of divorce, nobody gets to claim they're entitled to the other person's premarital assets or business ventures. It's not romantic, but neither is bankruptcy court. And I was 26% more naive 8 years ago, but still 26% smarter than the average person who gets married without any financial protection. So legally, Brittany has no claim to my patent money. Zero. Zip. Nada. In a divorce scenario, she'd get whatever we've accumulated together during the marriage. The house, which we bought together, some joint savings, which amounts to maybe $60,000, and possibly some kind of spousal support for a limited time because that's how California works. But she doesn't get the patent. She doesn't get the 20 million. She doesn't get the royalties that are going to keep coming in for the next decade at minimum. Unless I'm dead. See, if I'm dead, everything changes. If I'm dead before I update my will, which I haven't done yet because the money just hit and I was planning to deal with it next week, then my current will from 3 years ago is still active. And that will, which I wrote back when I thought my wife actually loved me and wasn't auditioning for the role of Black Widow in a true crime documentary, leaves everything to Brittany. Everything. The house, the money, the patent rights, the royalties, the whole enchilada. Because that's what you do when you're married and you think you're going to grow old together and maybe retire to some place with a beach and good health care. You make your spouse the beneficiary. You trust them. You assume they want you alive more than they want you dead and wealthy. But now I'm looking at Brittany's boutique, Lux Theory. And let me tell you about this business on Instagram. It's thriving. Constant posts about sold out items and exclusive drops. And thank you to our amazing clients. Lots of photos of Brittany in designer outfits standing in front of brick walls looking like she's about to revolutionize the fashion industry. Lots of engagement from accounts that I'm 90% sure are bots because nobody really uses that many flame emojis unironically. But in QuickBooks and yes, I have access to the business financials because I'm technically a silent partner, which means I gave her startup money 4 years ago and occasionally check to make sure we're not hemorrhaging cash. The real story is very different. The boutique is bleeding money, not like a small cut, like a severed artery. Monthly losses averaging $12,000. Revenue is inconsistent at best. Expenses include rent on a retail space that's way too expensive, inventory that doesn't move, a social media manager who charges $3,000 a month to post pictures, and something called brand development consulting that costs $5,000 monthly, and as far as I can tell, involves a woman named Sage telling Brittany that her energy needs to be more aligned with abundance. The boutique is a vanity project that's become a financial black hole. And every month I've been covering the losses because that's what you do when you're married to someone who has a dream and you have the money to fund it. But the deal was always that once the boutique became profitable, Brittany would pay back the startup money and we'd consider the loan settled. Except it's never become profitable. Not even close. And now I'm looking at 4 years of losses that total somewhere north of $300,000, which is a lot of money to spend on what is essentially an expensive hobby that requires a storefront. Then there's Lorraine. Oh, Lorraine. I pull up what I can find about her financial situation, which isn't everything because she's not my wife and I don't have direct access to her accounts, but I know enough from conversations and things Brittany has mentioned. And that one time Lorraine got drunk at Thanksgiving and started complaining about interest rates. Lorraine has a condo. Sounds nice, right? Except she has 2 mortgages on it. Not a mortgage and a home equity line of credit. 2 full mortgages, which means at some point she refinanced, pulled out cash, spent that cash, and then took out another loan using the same property. The condo is underwater. She owes more than it's worth, and she's making payments on both loans barely, from what I understand. She also has a Mercedes, the S-Class, fully loaded, gorgeous car. Costs about $900 a month for the payment plus insurance plus premium gas because Lorraine doesn't do regular unleaded. And then there are the credit cards, multiple credit cards. I don't know the exact balances, but Brittany mentioned once that her mom was consolidating debt, which is code for transferring balances between cards and hoping nobody notices that the problem is getting worse, not better. And here's my favorite part, spa financing. I didn't even know this was a thing. Apparently, you can finance cosmetic procedures and spa treatments and facials and whatever else wealthy women do to avoid looking like they're aging naturally. Lorraine has a payment plan for her face, for her actual face. This is money borrowed to maintain an appearance that suggests she has money, which she doesn't, which is why she needs to borrow money, which creates this beautiful circular logic that ends with her daughter trying to poison me. And then there's Andre. Andre is Brittany's cousin, sort of second cousin, maybe. The family tree is unclear, and I stopped trying to map it out after the third explanation that involved people I'd never met. Andre describes himself as an entrepreneur and a business consultant. But what Andre actually is, based on my observations and some very careful questions I've asked over the years, is a loan shark with business cards and a LinkedIn profile. He loans money to people in the family when they can't get traditional loans because their credit is destroyed or they're already maxed out everywhere else. He charges interest rates that would make a payday loan company blush. And according to a conversation I overheard 6 months ago when Brittany thought I was in the garage, Andre is currently helping the family with some temporary bridge capital, which is fancy language for loaning money that needs to be paid back with substantial interest or else. So, let me paint you the full picture here because once I see it all laid out in front of me, it's so obvious. I can't believe I missed it. Brittany's boutique is failing. Lorraine is drowning in debt. Andre is circling like a shark waiting to collect. And then I sell my patent for $20 million. $20 million that legally belongs to me alone because of the prenup. $20 million that Brittany can't touch in a divorce, but could absolutely access if I died before updating my will. And suddenly, from their perspective, I'm not Marcus the husband or Marcus the son-in-law. I'm Marcus the solution. I'm Marcus the walking ATM machine that just needs to stop walking so they can make a withdrawal. If I die tragically, heart attack, accidental poisoning, stroke, whatever story they want to sell, Brittany becomes the grieving widow. She inherits everything. The house, the cash, the patent rights, the royalty stream. She pays off her boutique debt, her mother's mortgages, Andre's loans. She's suddenly solvent and sympathetic. She gets sympathy casseroles and GoFundMe donations and people saying she's so strong and at least he left her well taken care of. She gets to play the role of the woman who lost her husband right when their life together was about to get good. And people eat that story up. Nobody suspects the widow. Nobody investigates the wife who cries at the funeral and talks about how much she loved him and how unfair life is. This wasn't rage. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't even personal really. This was accounting. This was a spreadsheet analysis that determined I was worth more dead than alive. I was an asset that needed to be liquidated. And the fact that I'm sitting here in my office alive drinking bourbon from a bottle I had to safety check like I'm the president's food taster means that their accounting was wrong. They miscalculated. They didn't factor in the possibility that I'd notice that I'd see that I'd swap the glasses and save my own life while accidentally saving Lorraine's in the process. Which is ironic because I'm pretty sure Lorraine was in on this plan given how fast she's accumulated debt and how convenient my death would be for her financial situation, too. I finish my bourbon. I pour another one still from the sealed bottle, still on camera, and I start making a list, not a revenge list, not an angry list, a strategic list, a documentation list. Because here's what I know about problems. You can't solve them by yelling or crying or confronting people who are desperate enough to kill you. You solve them by being smarter, more prepared, more thorough. You solve them by building a case so solid that when everything comes out, nobody can deny it. Nobody can spin it. Nobody can say it was a misunderstanding or you're being paranoid. I'm going to need my lawyer. I'm going to need financial records. I'm going to need to move my assets into accounts and trusts that Brittany can't touch even if I die tomorrow. I'm going to need security cameras. I'm going to need witness statements. I'm going to need that toxicology report on Lorraine. I'm going to need everything documented and time-stamped and notarized and legally airtight because I'm not just protecting my money. I'm protecting my life. And unlike my wife, I'm not willing to kill for $20 million. But I am absolutely willing to use every legal tool available to make sure the person who tried to kill me for $20 million spends the next 2 decades in a prison cell thinking about how bad their math was. I wake up at 7 a.m. to the sound of the doorbell, which is annoying because I didn't fall asleep until 3 o'clock and I spent most of that time mentally cataloging every financial crime my wife and her family have probably committed in the last decade. I stumbled downstairs in sweatpants and a t-shirt that says, "Trust me, I'm an engineer." Which felt ironic when I bought it 5 years ago and feels darkly prophetic now. I opened the door expecting maybe a package or possibly Jehovah's Witnesses. And instead, I get Brittany and Andre standing on my porch at 9 o'clock in the morning holding a bag from the fancy bakery downtown and wearing expressions that can only be described as, "We're here to help you whether you want help or not." Brittany's got the bag of Cuisinons held out in front of her like a peace offering, which is hilarious because Cuisins are prop food. Kiss-ins are what you bring when you're about to deliver bad news or ask for something unreasonable or apparently try to convince someone to sign away their freedom. Nobody shows up at 9 a.m. with pastries unless they want something. And the more expensive the pastries, the bigger the ask. These are like $8 croissants. I'm in trouble, baby, Brittany says. And her voice has that sickly sweet tone that means she's been practicing this conversation. We need to talk. Can we come in? I want to say no. I want to close the door and go back to bed and pretend that yesterday didn't happen. And my wife isn't currently standing on my porch with her loan shark cousin plotting whatever fresh hell they've cooked up overnight. But I'm playing the long game here. I'm collecting evidence. So, I smile and step aside and let them in because you can't document someone's insanity if you don't let them perform it. We sit in the kitchen. Brittany puts the croissants on a plate that I immediately decide I'm never eating from because at this point, I don't trust anything that's been within 3 feet of her. Andre sits across from me doing this thing where he's trying to look casual and concerned at the same time, like he's a therapist and not a guy who probably has someone's kneecaps in a storage unit somewhere. Brittany fusses with the coffee maker even though I was about to make coffee myself. And she keeps glancing at me like she's checking to see if I'm showing symptoms of something. Marcus. She starts sitting down with her own cup of coffee that I watch her make from start to finish because I'm not drinking anything I didn't personally supervise. You've been under so much stress. The patent, the deal, the negotiations, the press, the party, and then last night with my mom. Baby, you're pushing yourself too hard. You need rest. Like real rest. Monitored rest. And there it is. The setup. The pitch. I can see it coming like a freight train with neon signs. She slides a glossy brochure across the table. The paper is thick, expensive, the kind of brochure that costs $3 per copy to print. On the cover is a photo of a beautiful building that looks like a resort. Spanish tile, palm trees, people who are definitely models pretending to be residents playing chess by a fountain. The text says, Golden Birch Lifestyle Community where wellness meets luxury. I pick it up. I flip through it. Pictures of spacious rooms, a dining hall that looks like a 5-star restaurant, a spa, a pool, something called a meditation garden. It looks amazing. It looks like a place where rich people go to feel good about aging. It does not look like what it actually is, which is where rich families park inconvenient relatives until probate is finished and they can access the inheritance without anyone asking difficult questions. It's not a nursing home, Brittany says quickly, reading my face or maybe just sticking to her script. It's luxury assisted living like a resort but with medical staff. They have a chef, Marcus, a real chef, Michelin trained, and a spa with a massage therapist and a physical therapist. And they do activities, art classes, book clubs, wine tastings. It's for people who want to enjoy their retirement in comfort and safety. She's talking fast, selling hard. You just sign the intake packet. They handle everything. All your medical needs, monitoring, medications if you need them, scheduled activities. You can relax. Finally, relax. I keep flipping. I get to the financial section. Entry fee $400,000. Fully refundable minus processing fees. Monthly fee $12,000 covering all amenities, meals, and basic care. And then buried in the fine print in Section 7, Subsection C power of attorney recommended for seamless care, coordination, and financial management during residency. I stop. I read that line again. Power of attorney recommended, which means required if you want to actually get admitted because we need to make sure someone can sign things and move money even if the resident suddenly decides they don't want to be here anymore. I look up. Brittany's watching me with this hopeful expression. Andre's nodding like this is the most reasonable suggestion anyone's ever made. And I realize what I'm looking at. This isn't a care facility. This is a cage. This is a legal mechanism to take control of someone's finances and medical decisions under the guise of helping them. You sign the power of attorney. You sign the intake forms. They take the $400,000 entry fee. And suddenly you're a resident who needs care. And your wife has the legal authority to make all your decisions for you, including whether you're allowed to leave. Power of attorney, I say, keeping my voice mild, curious, not accusatory. So that means whoever I designate can sign for me, move funds for me, speak to doctors for me, make medical decisions for me, admit me against my will for my own safety, and keep me there even if I say I want to leave. That kind of spa. Brittany's smile falters for just a second. Don't make this adversarial, Marcus. This is about your health, your well-being. We're worried about you. Andre jumps in and his voice has this fake soothing quality like he's trying to talk someone off a ledge. Brother, nobody's taking advantage of you here. We just need to get in front of any medical issues before they escalate. Be proactive. After last night, with the stress and everything, we just want to make sure you're taken care of, protected, safe. After last night, I repeat slowly, when your future mother-in-law almost died from drinking the glass that was meant for me, the temperature in the room drops about 40 degrees. Brittany's face goes pale. Andre stops mid like someone hit pause on a video. We all just sit there breathing in that sentence, letting it hang in the air like smoke. Brittany recovers first. What are you talking about? That's crazy. That's Marcus. Are you hearing yourself? My mother had some kind of reaction. Maybe an allergy. Maybe a stroke. The doctors are still figuring it out. Nobody was trying to hurt you. That's paranoid. She looks at Andre. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why he needs professional help. He's not thinking clearly. And there it is, the narrative pivot. I'm not the target of attempted murder. I'm paranoid. I'm confused. I'm not thinking clearly. I need professional help, which conveniently involves signing over power of attorney and $400,000 and my ability to make my own decisions. This is the escalation. This is them realizing that the poison didn't work and now they need plan B, which is to legally incapacitate me by convincing everyone that I'm mentally unfit. I'm thinking very clearly, I say. My voice is calm. Too calm. Probably the kind of calm that makes people nervous because it means you're not reacting emotionally. You're calculating. I'm thinking that you want me to sign paperwork giving you control of my medical decisions and my finances. I'm thinking that you want me to pay $400,000 to live in a facility where I can't leave without permission. I'm thinking that this conversation is happening less than 24 hours after someone put poison in my champagne glass. I'm thinking all of that very clearly, actually. Andre stands up. He's a big guy, maybe 6'2", and I can tell he's used to using his physical presence to intimidate people. Look, man, you're upset. You're stressed. We get it. But you need to calm down and think about what's best for everyone here. Your wife is trying to help you. Your family is trying to help you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Or what? I ask. I stay seated. I don't move. Or what, Andre? What happens if I don't sign your intake packet and your power of attorney forms? What's the consequence here? Are you going to have me declared incompetent? Get a court order? Maybe arrange another accident that works better than the last one. Brittany starts crying. Real tears this time. Or at least tears that look real enough that I can't tell the difference. Why are you doing this? Why are you being like this? I love you. I'm trying to take care of you. And you're acting like I'm some kind of monster. After everything we've been through, after everything we've built together, she's good. She's really good. If I didn't know what I know, if I hadn't seen what I saw, I might actually feel guilty right now. But I did see. I do know. And I'm not signing anything. I think you should leave. I say. I stand up. I walk to the front door and open it. Take your quiescence. Take your brochure. Take your power of attorney forms and leave. Andre looks at Brittany. Brittany looks at Andre. There's a whole conversation happening in that look. Some kind of silent communication about whether they should push harder or retreat and regroup. They choose retreat. Smart. Because pushing harder right now would reveal too much, would show their hand too clearly. They need me to think this is about concern and care, not about control and money. Fine, Brittany says, grabbing her purse. But we're not done talking about this. You need help, Marcus, whether you want to admit it or not. She walks past me without looking at me. Andre follows and as he passes, he leans in close and says quietly, "You're making a mistake, brother. A big one." It sounds like a threat. It probably is a threat. I close the door behind them. I lock it. I lean against it and let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Tyler comes down the stairs in his pajamas, headphones around his neck. "Was that Brittany?" he asks. I nod. What did she want? I look at my son, this kid who's been watching his father navigate an attempted murder and is somehow handling it better than most adults would. She wanted me to sign papers putting myself in a fancy prison and giving her control of all my money, I tell him. Because at this point, honesty seems like the best policy. Tyler thinks about this for a second. Then he says, "Did you sign them?" I shake my head. He nods satisfied. Good. That would have been stupid. Out of the mouths of 14-year-olds. I go back to my office. I pull out my phone. I call Regina Park, my lawyer, because this just went from collect evidence to I need legal protection immediately. She answers on the second ring. I tell her everything. The party, the poison, the hospital, the Golden Birch brochure, the power of attorney push, that he's not thinking clearly narrative. She listens without interrupting. When I'm done, there's a pause. Then she says, "Cool. We're going on a fence." Music to my ears. I need two things now. Witnesses that I'm completely mentally competent and legal structures that make it impossible for Brittany or anyone else to control my money or my medical decisions. I need documentation that I'm not confused, not declining, not in need of a conservatorship or guardianship or whatever legal mechanism they're planning to use to lock me up in Golden Birch. I need proof stamped and notarized and legally binding that I am a functioning adult who can make my own decisions, and I need it yesterday. How fast can you make this happen? I ask Regina, how fast can you get here? She responds. I check my watch. 30 minutes. Then we start in 30 minutes. She says, bring coffee. This is going to take a while. Regina Park's office is in downtown in one of those buildings that looks like it was designed by someone who watched too many legal dramas and decided that justice should be served in a space with exposed brick and industrial lighting. Her firm is small, just her and 2 associates. But she's got a reputation for being the lawyer you call when you need someone who doesn't care about being polite, doesn't care about making nice, and absolutely will not let anyone steamroll her clients just because the other side has more money or better connections or a sad story about family loyalty. I found her 3 years ago when I needed someone to handle a contract dispute with a supplier who thought net 30 meant whenever I feel like paying you, maybe never. And she solved that problem so efficiently that the guy paid me within a week and apologized for wasting her time. I walk in at 10 a.m. with 2 large coffees from the place next door, and Regina's already at her desk surrounded by papers and typing on her laptop like she's been working on my case since dawn, which knowing her she probably has been. She's 5'3" on a good day, maybe 110 pounds, with haircut sharp at her shoulders and wearing a black suit that probably costs more than most people's monthly rent. She looks like she could be a corporate lawyer at some massive firm downtown. But she chose this instead. Small practice, hand-picked clients, cases that actually matter to her. When she looks up at me, her expression is all business. Sit, she says, pointing to the chair across from her desk. I sit. I hand her a coffee. She takes it without breaking eye contact, takes a sip, nods approval, and then gets straight to it. I've been thinking about this since you called. We've got multiple problems happening simultaneously, which means we need multiple solutions happening simultaneously. Problem 1, your wife tried to poison you. Problem 2, she's now trying to have you declared incompetent so she can control your assets. Problem 3. If she succeeds with either plan, you're either dead or legally dead. And either way, she gets your money. Does that about sum it up? That sums it up. I confirm. Regina nods. Makes a note on her legal pad and handwriting. So neat it looks printed. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. And we're going to do all of it today because I don't trust that your wife isn't going to escalate again tonight. Step 1. We get you a full neurocognitive assessment from an independent geriatric psychiatrist. Not your regular doctor, not someone Brittany could claim as biased. An independent board-certified specialist who has no connection to you or your family, and whose only job is to determine whether you are mentally competent to manage your own medical and financial decisions. She pulls up something on her computer, clicks a few times. I have a guy, Dr. Richard Chun. He's testified in about 50 conservatorship cases. He's never been successfully challenged on his assessments. He's expensive, but he's worth it. And more importantly, his evaluations hold up in court. I've already called him. He can see you at 2 p.m. today. You'll do a battery of cognitive tests. Memory, reasoning, decision-making capacity, all the standard stuff. Takes about 3 hours. At the end, assuming you're not actually losing your mind, which I'm 99% sure you're not, he'll write a report stating that you are fully competent to make your own decisions. We get that report dated, witnessed, signed, and notarized. Then, if Brittany or anyone else tries to claim you're declining or confused or need a conservator, we have certified proof that says no. Actually, he doesn't. I like this plan. I like it a lot. What's step 2? Regina smiles, and it's not a friendly smile. It's the smile of someone who's about to ruin someone else's day and is genuinely looking forward to it. Step 2, we restructure your assets into trust that Brittany can't touch. Not in divorce, not if you die, not ever. We're going to create an irrevocable trust for the bulk of your patent money and royalties. You'll be the primary beneficiary during your lifetime. But the trust itself is managed by a corporate trustee, a bank, not a person, because people can be bribed or manipulated or threatened. The trust documents will specifically state that Brittany and Lorraine are excluded from any distributions, any decision-making authority, and any beneficiary status. We'll name Tyler as a beneficiary after you, and we'll set up a foundation or charitable component so there's a clear paper trail showing your intent wasn't just to screw over your wife but to protect your assets for legitimate purposes. She's typing while she talks, pulling up documents, making notes will also create a medical power of attorney and a financial power of attorney. But instead of giving that power to your wife, you're giving it to me or to Tyler when he turns 18 or to a professional fiduciary, anyone except Brittany. And we're going to put specific language in there that says, under no circumstances can Brittany or Lorraine make medical decisions for you, place you in any facility or access your financial accounts. We're going to ban them explicitly by name and legal language that's so clear a first-year law student could understand it. This is getting better by the minute. Step 3, I ask. Regina takes another sip of coffee, and I can tell she's enjoying this. Step 3, we put fraud alerts and transaction alerts on every single bank account, brokerage account, and financial institution where you have money. If anyone tries to transfer funds, move assets, or make any changes to your accounts, you get a call immediately. We also send letters to each institution official on my letterhead, very legal looking, explaining that there have been attempted fraudulent transactions and that no changes should be processed without direct verbal confirmation from you followed by written confirmation from me. We make it so annoying and complicated to access your money that Brittany would need a team of hackers and a small army to get past the security. She pauses, looks at me seriously. And step 4, which is maybe the most important, cameras, audio, and video everywhere. Your house, your office, your car if possible, all legal, all timestamped, all backed up to cloud storage that only you control. Because here's the thing, Marcus. Right now, it's your word against hers. She says you're confused. You say she tried to poison you without evidence. It's he said, she said. And unfortunately, worried wife trying to help declining husband is a more sympathetic narrative than husband accuses wife of murder. But if we have video of her attempting to access your accounts, audio of her trying to coerce you into signing documents, footage of her doing literally anything that supports your version of events, then it stops being a credibility contest and starts being a criminal case. I'm nodding along, mentally checking off each item. This is exactly what I need. Not emotion, not drama, not confrontation, strategy, documentation, legal protection so airtight that Brittany would need to be a significantly better criminal than she actually is to get through it. How long does all this take? I ask. Regina checks her watch. The assessment is at 2. That's 3 hours. So, you're done by 5. I've already started drafting the trust documents. I'll have them ready for review by tomorrow morning. The power of attorney paperwork I can have done today. The fraud alerts we can place right now as soon as you give me account numbers. The cameras you can order online and have installed by tomorrow if you pay for rush service. So realistically 48 hours and you're protected. 72 hours and you're bulletproof. What about the police? I ask because this is the question that's been bothering me since last night. When do we involve law enforcement? Regina leans back in her chair, fingers steepled like she's a movie villain, explaining her master plan. Except in this case, the master plan is keeping me alive and sending my wife to prison. The hospital already filed a report because of the toxicology results. That means there's going to be a police investigation whether we want one or not. What we need to do is make sure that when the detective assigned to the case calls you, you're prepared. You don't volunteer information, but you don't hide anything either. You answer questions truthfully. You provide evidence when asked. You let them build their case. She pulls out a business card, slides it across the desk to me. This is Detective Camilla Reyes. She works financial crimes and elder abuse. I already called her this morning, told her we might have a situation involving attempted murder and financial coercion of a vulnerable adult. I raise my eyebrows. I'm not a vulnerable adult. I'm 42. Regina gives me a look that says I'm being deliberately obtuse. In legal terms, anyone who's being targeted for their money by family members can be classified as vulnerable, especially if there's an attempt to have them declared incompetent. It's not about your actual age or capability. It's about the fact that someone is trying to exploit you. And elder abuse statutes in California apply to anyone over 40 who's being financially exploited by a caretaker or family member. So yeah, technically you qualify, and that's good for us because elder abuse is taken very seriously by the DA's office. They prosecute those cases aggressively. She stands up, walks over to a file cabinet, pulls out a folder that's already labeled with my name, which means she really was working on this since dawn. Detective Reyes is good. She's smart, she's thorough, and she doesn't let people manipulate her with tears and family drama. When she calls, and she will call probably in the next day or two, you tell her everything. The champagne, the swap, the hospital, the Golden Birch ambush, all of it. You give her copies of everything we're creating, the cognitive assessment, the trust documents, the power of attorney, the fraud alerts. You make her job as easy as possible. Because the easier you make it for her to build a case, the faster Brittany ends up in handcuffs. I leave Regina's office with a folder full of documents to review. A 2 p.m. appointment with Drive Chun. And for the first time since the party, a sense that I'm not just reacting to attacks, but actually building a defense. No, not a defense. An offense. Because defense is what you do when you're trying not to lose. Offense is what you do when you're planning to win. And I'm planning to win so decisively that Brittany won't just lose access to my money. She'll lose her freedom, her reputation, and any chance of ever trying this with someone else. I get to Dr. Chin's office at 1:45 because I'm the kind of person who shows up early to things, which is probably why I'm successful, and Brittany is trying to murder me for money instead of just earning her own. The office is in a medical building near the hospital. All beige walls and generic landscape paintings and magazines from 6 months ago. Dr. Chun himself is maybe 60. Asian guy with glasses and a calm demeanor that makes you feel like he's seen every kind of cognitive problem imaginable. And yours, whatever it is, doesn't surprise him. The assessment is exhausting in a way I didn't expect. It's not physically hard, but mentally it's like running a marathon while someone asks you to solve math problems. Memory tests where he gives me lists of words and asks me to repeat them back immediately. Then again 5 minutes later. Then again 20 minutes later. Problem-solving exercises where I have to figure out patterns and sequences of numbers or shapes. Questions about current events, recent presidents, basic geography. Tasks where I have to draw a clock showing a specific time. Copy complex figures. Explain the meaning of proverbs. He asked me to count backward from 100 by 7s, which sounds easy until you're doing it out loud and your brain keeps wanting to take shortcuts. 3 hours later, I'm done. Dr. Chun reviews his notes, types something into his computer, and then looks at me over his glasses. Mr. Hale, I'm going to be very direct with you. Based on this assessment, you show no signs of cognitive impairment, dementia, or any condition that would prevent you from managing your own affairs. Your memory is excellent. Your reasoning is sound. Your decision-making capacity is intact. If someone is trying to have you declared incompetent, they're going to have a very hard time doing that with this evaluation on record. He prints out a report 10 pages long, full of scores and analysis and medical terminology, and signs it with a flourish. I'll have the notarized version sent to your attorney by end of business today. I thank him, shake his hand, and walk out of that office feeling like I just passed the most important test of my life. Because I did. I just proved in legally binding medical terms that I'm not crazy. I'm not confused. I'm not declining. I'm a fully functional adult who's being targeted by people who want my money. And now I have documentation that says exactly that. I text Regina, assessment done. He says, I'm competent. Report coming today. She texts back immediately. Perfect. Come by tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We'll sign the trusts. Then we go to war. I drive home smiling because for the first time since I watched my wife poison my champagne, I feel like I'm not the one in danger anymore. She is. Here's the thing about catching criminals. You can't just wait for them to confess. You have to create situations where they incriminate themselves, where their own greed and desperation lead them directly into a trap they don't see until it's already closed around their ankles. This is basically what phishing is, except instead of using worms, you use fake bank accounts. And instead of catching base, you catch your wife committing felony fraud. Same principle, different application. I'm sitting in my office at 8 a.m. the next morning with Regina on a video call, and she's walking me through what she's calling the honeypot strategy, which sounds like something from a spy movie, but is actually just a very elegant way to get Brittany to commit crimes on camera while thinking she's being clever. We need her to actually attempt to access your money, Regina explains. And she's got that look on her face that lawyers get when they're about to do something technically legal, but definitely morally questionable. Right now, we have suspicion. We have the poisoning, which is good, but that's going to be hard to prove was intentional unless we get a confession or find the vial with her fingerprints. What we need is a clear, documented, undeniable fraud attempt that shows intent to steal your assets. Something where her fingerprints, literal or digital, are all over it. So, here's what we do. I go to a bank I don't normally use, a branch of Pacific Western that's across town, nowhere near my usual Wells Fargo. I walk in, I tell them I want to open a new checking account, and I deposit exactly $100. That's it. $100. The account comes with a debit card, online banking access, the full setup. To anyone looking at the paperwork, it appears to be a legitimate active account. It's just that instead of containing $20 million, it contains enough money to buy a decent dinner for two if you skip dessert. Meanwhile, Regina drafts what she calls a durable power of attorney document. It looks official. It looks comprehensive. It's got all the right legal language, the proper formatting, the stamps and seals and signatures that make it appear like it's giving someone specifically whoever I designate broad authority over my financial affairs. Except here's the beautiful part. It doesn't. The language is very carefully crafted to only give access to this one specific checking account at Pacific Western account number ending in 7734 and nothing else. It specifically forbids any movement of securities, property, patents, royalties, or any other assets. It auto-expires in 90 days and buried in Section 12 subsection F in language that requires a law degree to fully parse. It says that any attempt to exceed the authority granted in this document constitutes fraud and nullifies the entire agreement. It's bait, Regina says, and she sounds genuinely pleased with herself. Anyone who reads this carefully will see it's limited. But anyone who's desperate and greedy and just looking for access to your accounts, they'll see power of attorney, and think they hit the jackpot. They'll skip the fine print. They'll assume it's broader than it is. And when they try to move money from your actual accounts, the ones not mentioned in this document, we've got them on fraud, clear, documented, prosecutable fraud. We also create a fake consolidated portfolio summary that makes it look like I've got all my accounts listed in one convenient document. Checking accounts, savings accounts, brokerage accounts, all with account numbers, and approximate balances, except the numbers are fake. The accounts are mostly fake. The only real one is the $100 checking account. Everything else is either an account that doesn't exist or an account that's already been locked down with fraud alerts so aggressive that even I would have trouble accessing it without going through 3 levels of verification. And then we make a temporary login sheet with usernames and passwords for what appears to be access to my online brokerage portal. Except the portal isn't real. It's a honeypot website that Regina's IT guy built in about 4 hours. Looks exactly like the real brokerage site. Same layout, same logos, but it's actually just logging every login attempt, every IP address, every action someone tries to take. It's a digital trap designed to record evidence. I put all of this in a nice folder, navy blue, the kind you get at Office Depot, that looks professional and important. I label it Estate Planning Confidential in big letters on the front. And then I do something that feels incredibly stupid, but is actually brilliant. I leave it visible in my home office. Not obviously visible like sitting in the middle of my desk with a spotlight on it, but visible enough that someone who's snooping around looking for financial documents would definitely find it. I put it in the open filing cabinet drawer filed under E for estate, exactly where someone would look if they were trying to figure out what I've been doing with my money. Because here's what I know about Brittany. She cannot resist information. She cannot resist access. She cannot resist the opportunity to check on things, to make sure everything's organized, to help with administrative tasks that nobody asked her to help with. It's part of her whole personality. She's the person who reads other people's text messages when they leave their phone on the table. She's the person who goes through your browser history accidentally when borrowing your laptop. She's nosy and greedy, and she thinks she's sneaky, but she's actually just obvious if you know what to look for. So, I leave the folder. I go about my evening like nothing's wrong. I make dinner for myself from ingredients I personally bought and opened because we're still operating on the assumption that everything in my house might be poisoned. I watch TV. I go to my office around 8 p.m. to work on some emails, which is really just me sitting at my desk with my laptop open while the security camera I installed yesterday mounted in the bookshelf looks like a book spine. Records in 4K, captures everything. Around 9 p.m., Brittany appears in the doorway. She's wearing yoga pants and a tank top, hair up in a messy bun, looking casual and unthreatening. "Hey, baby," she says, and her voice is soft, conciliatory, like we didn't have a massive fight 2 days ago about her trying to put me in a luxury prison. "I've been thinking. I know things have been tense. I know you're stressed. I just want you to know I'm here for you. Whatever you need. It's a performance. It's absolutely a performance. But I play along because the camera is rolling and I need her to think I'm buying it." "Thanks," I say. I give her a small smile. Not too big. Just enough to suggest I'm softening, that maybe I'm reconsidering, that perhaps she's winning me back over. "I appreciate that. I know you're trying to help." She comes closer, puts a hand on my shoulder, squeezes. "I love you, Marcus. I know you don't believe that right now, but I do. And I'm going to prove it to you." She kisses the top of my head, tells me not to stay up too late, and leaves. The whole interaction takes maybe 90 seconds. Oscar-worthy manipulation. 30 minutes later, I'm in bed in the guest room now because I've decided sleeping in the same room as someone who tried to poison me is a line I'm not willing to cross. And my phone is on the nightstand, unlocked, screen facing up. I'm not actually asleep. I'm reading on my tablet, waiting, and then it happens. My phone pings, not a text, not an email. An alert from the security system. Motion detected in home office. I switch to the camera app. There's Brittany, illuminated by the desk lamp she just turned on, standing in front of my filing cabinet. She's got her phone out. She's looking around, checking, I assume, to make sure I'm not coming back downstairs. And then she opens the drawer, pulls out the navy blue folder, flips it open. I watch on my phone screen as she photographs every page, the power of attorney, the portfolio summary, the login credentials sheet. She's systematic about it, making sure she gets clear shots of every document, zooming in on account numbers and passwords. She thinks she's being so careful, so thorough. She has no idea she's creating a perfect evidence trail of herself stealing confidential financial information without consent. She puts the folder back exactly where she found it. Good attention to detail. I'll give her that. Turns off the light and leaves the office. The whole thing takes maybe 5 minutes. I lie there in the dark smiling because now I wait. Now I see what she does with that information and I don't have to wait long. My phone pings again 30 minutes later. This time it's an alert from the Honeypot website. Failed login attempt from an unknown iPhone. User attempted to access account ending in 4821. One of the fake accounts on the summary. User attempted to initiate a wire transfer of $4,800 to an external account. The system blocked it obviously because it's not a real account, but it logged everything. IP address, device fingerprint, timestamp, the exact amount she tried to steal, which is interesting because $4,800 is suspiciously close to 1 month's rent on her boutique, which means she's not even trying to steal everything at once. She's trying to siphon money gradually, so I won't notice. I screenshot everything, the camera footage of her in my office, the photo she took, the login attempt, the block transfer. I texted all to Regina with a message. Got her. She took the bait. Regina responds at 10:30 at night because apparently lawyers never sleep. Beautiful. This is fraud. Wire fraud if she tried to transfer across state lines. Unauthorized access to financial accounts. Identity theft if she tried to use your credentials. I'm calling Detective Reyes in the morning. Do not confront your wife. Do not tell her you know. Act normal. Let her think she got away with it. Act normal. Right. I'm supposed to act normal while my wife is actively trying to steal my money after already trying to poison me. This is my life now. This is what passes for normal. I turn off the lights. I try to sleep. I can't sleep because my brain won't stop running through the implications of what just happened. This isn't she said anymore. This isn't circumstantial evidence. This is video footage. This is logged attempts. This is digital fingerprints all over a crime scene. This is the kind of evidence that prosecutors absolutely love because it's objective. It's timestamped and it can't be explained away with tears and claims of misunderstanding. In the morning, I go downstairs and Brittany's in the kitchen making coffee like everything's fine. Morning, baby, she says. All sunshine and casual energy. Sleep okay. I pour myself coffee from the pot I watch her make, even though I'm still not fully convinced she won't poison the coffee. And I say, yeah, fine. You? She nods. Great. Hey, I was thinking we should do something this weekend. Maybe drive up the coast, get away for a couple days, just the two of us. Reconnect. She's trying to get me out of town, away from my lawyer, away from my security system, somewhere remote where if something happened to me, it would look like an accident and there'd be no cameras to prove otherwise. Maybe, I say noncommittally. I've got some meetings this week I need to prep for. Let me check my calendar. She smiles, but I can see the frustration behind it. Her timeline is slipping. The poison didn't work. The golden birch ambush didn't work. The account access didn't work. She's running out of options and running out of time. And she knows it. What she doesn't know is that every move she makes now is being documented, logged, and turned into evidence that's going to be used against her in court. What she doesn't know is that I stopped being the victim about 3 days ago. Now I'm the prosecutor. Now I'm building the case. Now I'm the one in control. And when this all comes out, when Detective Reyes shows up with handcuffs and a warrant, Brittany's going to realize that the biggest mistake she made wasn't trying to kill me. It was underestimating how thoroughly I document her trying to kill me. Because I didn't survive 42 years and build a multi-million-dollar patent by being careless. I survived by being meticulous. And right now, I'm being very, very meticulous about making sure my wife goes to prison for a very, very long time. You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up and realize your life's become a true crime episode narrated by a voice that sounds suspiciously judgmental? Yeah, that was me. My house still smelled like burnt nerves and betrayal when Detective Camila Reyes showed up the next morning. She was early 30s, Latina. Common that way. Only people who have seen genuine chaos can be. Hair tied back, no nonsense posture, and eyes that scan like she was downloading the entire room straight into some government-grade cloud storage. She didn't knock timidly either. It was a confident triple tap, followed by Mr. Hale. Detective Reyes, Riverside PD. That's cop code for I already know everything and I'm here to confirm how stupid everyone else looks. I opened the door, holding a mug I didn't plan to drink from because trust issues now come in caffeine form, and said, "You're either my guardian angel or my new therapist." She gave me a look that said, "Neither." Inside, she glanced around, eyes pausing on the kitchen counter where 3 different bottles of water stood sealed like evidence exhibits. "You taking hydration seriously, huh?" she asked dryly. "These days," I said. "Trusting unsealed liquids is basically a hobby for people who don't want to see next Tuesday." She almost smirked. Almost. We sat in my living room where my entire life now looked like a high-end panic room. Security cameras, motion sensors, files stacked neatly like trophies from the Don't Die Olympics. Reyes pulled out a small notepad. "Walk me through it from the start," she said, voice low but precise like a surgeon who cuts with words. So I did. I told her about the party, the glass, the dropper, the fainting act, the ER, the suspicious rest home pitch, the bait count, the midnight phone alerts, everything. She didn't interrupt, didn't gasp, didn't overreact. She just wrote in shorthand like she was already 3 moves ahead. When I mentioned the chipped glass, her pen paused. "You still have it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, walking her to the kitchen freezer like a man proudly showing off leftovers that could win a case. Inside, next to a frozen lasagna, sat a Ziploc bag with the bottle and the chipped flute sealed inside. "You watch too many legal thrillers," she said, eyebrows up. "You have no idea," I replied. She pulled out a pair of latex gloves from her pocket because of course she came prepared. Sealed the bag inside an evidence pouch, labeled it, and said, "We'll run this. If it's what you think it is, we'll know in 48 hours. The calm in her tone was unsettlingly confident. Then she asked for the rest. The screenshots, the login attempts, the fake Golden Birch documents, my notarized mental evaluation, the trust paperwork that legally exiled my wife and her mother from anything that had a dollar sign on it. I laid it all out on the coffee table. The way she flipped through those documents, you could almost hear justice stretching its legs. When she reached the section titled Asset Protection Trust, Disqualified Beneficiaries, she looked at me and said, "You wrote this yourself. Drafted it." I corrected. "My lawyer, Regina, polished it." She gave a tiny nod of approval. "You're more organized than half the detectives I know." I took that as a compliment and said, "Thanks. It's what happens when your family turns into a business case." Reyes flipped another page and let out a breath. "Okay," she said. "I'm going to be straight with you. From what I'm seeing, you're not paranoid. You're preemptive. And that's the only reason you're alive. Now, when a detective says something like that, you don't laugh. You just let the weight of it sit there, heavy and oddly validating," she went on. "The vial, if it's what I think, could be Ite monkshood used in some herbal poisons. Hard to trace, fast acting. If that's confirmed, this moves from suspicious to straight up attempted murder." "Neat," I said. Deadpan, so normal marriage stuff. She cracked the smallest grin. "You'd be surprised how often I hear that." We went over timelines, who poured what, who moved when. I told her about the exact moment Brittany accidentally doctored my drink, how I swapped the glasses, how Lorraine collapsed. Reyes tapped her pen on the page. "You ever confront your wife about it?" "Nope," I said. "I like breathing." That got another flicker of amusement. She stood, pacing lightly, absorbing the house like it was a crime scene, which technically it was. "You understand?" she said finally. "If this is what it looks like, it's going to be ugly. Attempted homicide, financial fraud, elder coercion, conspiracy. People don't like going down for that quietly." I leaned back, hands behind my head. "Yeah, but they also don't like getting caught trying to make a loved one their early retirement plan." Reyes looked at me for a beat, then asked, "You still living with her?" "Hell no," I said. "She's been bouncing between her boutique and her mother's condo, probably practicing her grieving widow face in the mirror." Reyes scribbled that down, then said, "Okay, you're not under arrest, obviously. But I need you to understand, you're a witness now, a high-value one. That means you don't eat out. Don't drink what you didn't open. Don't trust anyone who knocks on your door unless they're wearing a badge or holding a subpoena." "Got it. Got it," I said, though my brain was still processing the phrase high-value witness. She continued, "We'll need the champagne bottle analyzed. We'll get a search warrant for her phone, her mother's, and anyone connected to that Golden Birch scheme. You'll be looped in before we move. Until then, stay predictable. Don't tip her off. Detective, I said slowly. She tried to kill me at my own party. I think she's past the point of caring about subtlety. Reyes didn't disagree. She collected the evidence, carefully tucked everything into labeled bags, and before she left, she said something that somehow felt colder than the freezer. Mr. Hale, from this point forward, don't drink or eat anything you didn't seal or plate yourself. Not from your wife, not from family, not from restaurants, not even a mint at church. I stared. Not even a mint. She raised an eyebrow. You'd be surprised how many people get creative when the inheritance clock starts ticking. I exhaled and nodded. So, I'm basically living like a paranoid monk now. No, she said, heading for the door. You're living. Then she paused at the threshold, turned back, and added, oh, and Marcus, good instincts on swapping that glass. Most people wouldn't have noticed the dropper. I shrugged, yeah, well, most people don't have a wife who treats cocktails like chemistry class. She actually laughed that time. A quick dry laugh that said, you're insane, but I respect it. After she left, the silence felt thick. The hum of the fridge sounded like tension. I sat down, staring at the sealed bottles on the counter, and realized something. I'd been living in autopilot for years, pretending stability was love, that keeping quiet was peace. But when a detective tells you to treat your own house like a potential crime scene, the marriage isn't broken. It's buried. I texted Regina. We're in motion. Reyes is solid. She replied instantly. Good. Play dumb. They'll trip themselves. I turned off my phone, stared at my reflection in the dark window, and said to no one, well, honey, guess it's your turn to drink from the chipped glass. Then I locked every door, checked every camera feed, and made a mental note to start drinking my coffee black because cream suddenly felt like a luxury I couldn't trust. You ever walk into a room knowing everyone else, and it showed up to rob you blind, but you still smile like you're about to present the winning PowerPoint at a TED Talk? That was me strutting into the bank that morning, tailored suit, compulse, heart rate steady enough to fake sainthood. Brittany sat at the glass conference table, all fake pearls and real delusion, flanked by her wannabe lawyer, loan shark, Andre, and some chipper woman from Golden Birch, who looked like she sold timeshares to the elderly. Baby Brittany Koo, this is just so we can take care of you. Translation, sign here so I can own your soul and Venmo your assets to my new boyfriend. The folder in front of me had more pages than the Bible and smelled like fraud. But I smiled, nodded, and signed. Regina's decoy poi, the one that only gave her access to a checking account holding $100 sad little dollars. Andre leaned forward like he'd just witnessed destiny. Brittany looked like she could taste victory, and the Golden Birch rep was already mentally redecorating my suite. Then Brittany gave the signal. We'll move $400,000 for the entry fee, she said, all sweet and confident. The branch manager, God bless his poker face, typed something, looked at the screen, and chirped, perfect. That'll come from account ending in 48-1 balance 100. Even the silence that followed was art. You could hear the sound of Brittany's brain buffering. Her fake smile faltered so hard, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then came the tap on the glass door. Detective Reyes, sharp as caffeine, stepping in like a walking verdict. Behind her, the bank's fraud investigator, all clipboard and calm doom. Mrs. Hale, Reyes said, voice crisp enough to cut marble. Thank you for demonstrating intent in a recorded financial institution. That saves us so much paperwork. Brittany's lips parted, trembling, her tone cracking. Wait, this isn't. He's confused. He doesn't understand what he's signing. And right there, I slid the neurocognitive assessment across the table, stamped and dated, the verbal equivalent of an Uno reverse card. Competent, it read, bold as gospel. Reyes smiled the way predators smile before pouncing. Brittany Hale, you are under arrest for attempted murder, attempted grand larceny, fraudulent access to a financial account, and elder coercion. Andre's chair squeaked as he leaned back like the walls were melting. The Golden Birch lady looked like she wanted to reincarnate as a house plant. Brittany sputtered, this is insane, Marcus. Tell them. But her voice cracked right over the sound of the cough snapping shut. I just looked at her calm as summer and said, oh, I'm telling them plenty. When they let her out of that bank, I swear the universe exhaled. Because for the first time in months, I didn't feel like prey. I felt like the man who built the trap and watched it close perfectly. You'd think after your wife gets arrested for trying to turn you into a Netflix docuer, life would get quieter. Nope. The universe looked at me and said, plot twist, pal. That night, My doorbell rang at 9:42 p.m., the universal time for bad decisions. Outside stood a woman in a lab coat that screamed, "Amazon discount medical cosplay." Flanked by two guys built like failed linebackers. "Mr. Hale," she said, flashing a clipboard. "I'm Dr. Simone. We received a welfare report about your cognitive state. We just need to do a quick evaluation. Translation: open up so we can drag you to a facility and liquidate your assets while you're drooling into a cup." I leaned against the door, smiling like a man who already installed 4K cameras and had a detective on speed dial. "Doc," I said. "You're about 3 IQ points short of believable. You're not my physician, and I already passed a cognitive assessment that would make Einstein jealous." She tried the sympathy angle, tilting her head, soft voice, the fake concern that usually works on people who still trust daytime TV. "We can make this easy, Marcus. You don't want this to escalate." "Oh, but I did." I told her through the door. "Perfect. I'll call Adult Protective Services for you." Her eyes flickered. The split-second panic of a scammer who realizes the mark brought receipts. 30 seconds later, my panic pendant went off, sirens in the distance, and the look on her face turned from smug to lawsuit. When the squad car lights hit my driveway, she tried to smooth things over. "We're just here to help," she muttered. "Lady," I said, "you showed up with 2 bouncers and a fake degree. That's not help. That's kidnapping with extra paperwork." Enter Detective Reyes again, stepping out of her unmarked car like divine intervention in leather boots. "Evening, Doc," she said, flashing her badge. "You got a medical license number I can verify?" Dr. Simone stammered something about confidential evaluation, which is cop. I'm about to lose my bail. The 2 bodyguards suddenly found the horizon fascinating. 5 minutes later, the cops detained all 3. I watched from the doorway, coffee mug in hand, unpoisoned, sealed, sanctified. Tyler, my son, filmed the entire circus from the hallway, narrating like a YouTuber. "Hi, I'm Tyler Hale, and this is what attempted kidnapping looks like." When Reyes told them APS already had protective orders in my file, including their names, it was poetic. The fake doctor's jaw actually dropped. They got hauled off and Reyes gave me that look again. The one that said, "You were right to be paranoid." I told her, "At this point, I'm not paranoid. I'm professional." Tyler laughed. "Dad, that was savage." I grinned, ruffling his hair. "Nah, son. That was documented." That night, as the house quieted, I realized the war wasn't about money anymore. It was about control, and I'd just taken mine back. If justice had a playlist, mine started with the rhythmic squeak of courtroom chairs and ended with the sound of my ex-wife's freedom getting revoked in high definition. The day Brittany shuffled into court, she was dressed like a sad Pinterest board titled "Forgiveness Chic." Soft beige dress, demure pearls, and that tragic face people wear when they're rehearsing sympathy for the camera. Her lawyer did the whole misunderstanding between loving family members routine dripping with insincerity. The prosecutor didn't even blink. They rolled out the receipts like it was Black Friday for karma. Lab results showing Iden Champagne. Screenshots of the fake Golden Birch retirement home. The search history that read like a serial killer starter kit. How to disguise poison taste. Aconite lethal dose. Husband's assets after death. The courtroom air turned electric and for once Brittany didn't have a single fake tear left to squeeze out. Then they played the ring cam audio. Her voice clear as a church bell hissing. "Sign it now or we'll just have you evaluated and placed anyway." The silence that followed could have powered a small city. When the judge finally looked up, his expression said, "I've seen villains, but this one's a first ballot inductee." Her lawyer tried to recover with, "Your Honor, my client was under emotional stress," but the judge shut that down like a bouncer at closing time. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and gave my statement. Not dramatic, not tearful, just truth in its cleanest, sharpest form. "I'm not confused," I said. "I'm not declining. I'm just inconvenient to people who treat loyalty like an ATM. I swear." The judge actually nodded. Then came the verdict. Bail revoked. No contact order. Charges upgraded from attempted murder to premeditated with financial intent. I didn't cheer, didn't smirk, just exhaled. Lorraine tried her best act in the hallway, crying about how I humiliated her by letting her drink the wrong glass. "Lorraine," I said, "I literally saved your life." "You're welcome." Even Tyler winced. "Dad," he whispered. "That was cold." "No, son." I told him that was documented. We drove home in silence, the kind that feels like peace after a storm. My neighbor brought banana bread, real care, not the weaponized kind. And for once, I accepted it without scanning the ingredients. That night, I poured a drink from a freshly sealed bottle, cracked it open in front of my kitchen camera like a ritual, and raised my glass to the quiet. To poisoners with bad timing, to paperwork, to survival. I took a long sip, tasted freedom, and smiled because they thought a signature could bury me. But in the end, signatures were exactly what buried them.